Give me a picture. 3.
Device.
Okay, go ahead.
Veshavti Besholom Beisavi, Vayeitsei Kim Vayeitsei Veshavti Besholom. Torah Ohr, what the shaykhs shall happen in Shem Avaya. Vayeitsei Kim was Dafki Evan Beisavi. So the Yaakov made it that the Evan Azais will be Beisavi Kim. That Avaya will be El Kim. What's the connection between the Evan and the Shem Avaya? Kam Torah Ohr and Losh and Evan Azais, Losh and the Keva. Mills, Losh and Zacher. So I first say Evan Losh and the Keva, and they says Azais, Evan Azais, and they says which also Ohr, and that's called now. So Hagdim no Avaya, Mashkatz Lemine, Yifka Bamakom, Yikach Mavne Amakim, Yasam Eshes of a game, Yasam Esmatay of a game. Torah Ohr and Indian Avadim. So what was the Indian that Yaakov took? All the Avadim, he put him around his head. Yaakov was man of an achas. Also, what's the Indian? The Yaakov took many stones, they made it into one stone. What's the whole Indian of the Avadim? What's the whole Indian of it? Achine, Beresh, Parshas Vayeitsei, Yaakov, Veshavti Besholom. Peiresh, Yaakov, what's in your Yaakov, Pnimis in Yonim, it's good, Akev. You have to bring down the Chachmi law. So beginnes Yod, the Mata, Gam, Chizak Vais. Yaakov Merab is on the Indian of the highest level to the lowest level, from the highest level of Chachmi law, which is Yod, to Akvaim, which is the heel, the lowest level. Zel Vayeitsei, Yaakov Veshavti Besholom, that's the Vayeitsei Yaakov, beginnes Yaakov. Mamshech beginnes Beersheva, Shalmai, Lamai, Ive, Gamer Chat. The Stalshus, the Mata, Madega, Yesatachleino, beginnes Chon. That's your word, Kamen Bezes Hashem. What do you have Beersheva? That's you have Sheva Midas or Yedis, which are Neil Matzilis. Over there, everything is totally Batutalikus. And the Indian of Yaakov is he's going to bring down from Beersheva, from the highest levels to the lowest levels. As a cause of Tzab, Yeshua is Yaakov, Yeshua is Meravaz and the Shin, Ayin Aher Nilod. Beginnes Yaakov Mechaba, Mapchach Esamata, Beginnes Akvayim Gamkin. Another thing is, that's the Tzab, why is the Put say Tzab, Yeshua is Yaakov? The Yaakov brings down from the highest levels to the lowest levels. Gam Yeshua is a Lashon Shah. Also, Yeshua means what? Vayishav alav, that he turned to him. So another pshat Yeshua says. So we said two pshat. One Shinai Nahirin, that's from the highest levels, and the second pshat Yeshua says Vayishav alav, that the Eibush turned to Hevel. What does that mean? That means that you're turning means that you're bringing down the matamata. So Yaakov is going to bring down from the highest levels. The whole Indian over here he's talking about is that Yaakov brings down from the highest levels to the lowest levels. He's mechaber the highest levels and the lowest levels. Okay, so he said what was the of Yaakov? Now, how does it take place? Because of Nariate made in Shubachil's Chachmi law, the Hashkis as a God and Misham Yiparit. We take from the highest level, which is everything is Bachtis. It comes down into different levels. From the highest level over there, everything is Bachtis. And when it comes down, the Mata, everything comes apart. So what are we saying? So we're saying when you take from the highest levels where everything is back, this portion, and it comes down to this world, In this world, everything is separate. That it doesn't. They don't recognize the Eibishter. Therefore, everything is its own mitzias. Yaakov wanted to bring them back to. He wanted to recreate that union of Achdus. That's what Aveda. The Aveda is that we want to take all the things which are separate, and we want to reveal Elikus. Once we reveal Elikus in the world, then everything will be Bachdus again. In order for Yaakov to be Mevar Charan, which what Charan is all the Elamais Nefradim, and he to bring him up to the Beersheba, which Beersheba is Baramazan the Midas, how they are all Betachas Achdus, the Maila. So he took me out there from many stones, and he turned them into one stone. And that's the Aliyah that he wanted to bring about the Iyah of Achdus, Tachas Achdus. What was the of the stones? Avadim Nikro ACAs, Kashkaf of the Sapi Tzir, Shnei, Avadim Besh, they bought the Shal, Shabbat Besh, Shishabatim, all of the stones in the Sapi Tzir called the stones ACAs. Just like many stones can build a building, the same thing, many ACAs build up words. Is Kabash, Avadim having Nasa by Tzechot. Just like when you take many stones together, you build a building, then you can live in it. In other words, you take from many stones which don't really do anything, and you build a nice house out of it. Same thing where you take many words which are all separate, many aces which are separate, and you put them all together in the proper way. You have a nice story. You have a nice dictator. So the Avodim are similar to Asius. That's what it says in Sefer Yitzirah, that the Avodim are compared to Asius. Again, another reason why the Avodim is Daimon. The same thing also that we find that the stones are the lowest level. Shumadregas, you say the statement to me, so another comparison between the stones and the Asius are that just like the stones are the lowest level, they don't have any animation in them. Same thing the Asius, they don't have anything in them, any comparison to the Seichel until you put them all together. And also they also don't, even when they come together, they're still not in a ruchnistic aifa like the seichel. Nimta moving call now shavadim nikraces. So we see now avodim are called aces. Mike and the Mila. See also that the aces are compared to avodim. Ksiv b'dvar Hashem shamayim nasu. The Abish created the world with his speech. Shekos malchos hamalchos lama pesh chayis koleilamais. Shem elamais adikate to come shekos vayesh misluk dudav. In the im called the marker v'sheish chayis meinu mimchenis el meches balchosik. So we're saying that the chayis elamais, even though the Abish created them with speech, the whole chayis is from malchus the lowest level. It doesn't come from the highest levels of course. It comes from the lowest levels first of malchus. Even though there are many Elohim Sadikates, and that shows that the Elohim ain't safe. The Chayas, which animates them, is only for Sfiras HaMalchus. That's also not higher. So Bechinas Dvar Hashem HaMachayim HaBeis Mayim Yesh Tamen. That's Sfiras HaMalchus, which that's called the Dvar Hashem. That animates them because it's in Zayah Malchus is pet. Says Bidvar Shamayim Nas Vruch Pil Kol Tzavam that the Bria Seilu Havosim came from Dvar Hashem, just like the Kei HaDibber of a person is not the person himself. It's not a Seichel, it's not his Midas, it's not a Machshava. It's all the Kei HaDibber is only for someone else. The same thing, the Malchus, the Mata, it's not the Melch himself, it's only how he relates to the nation. So the same thing, the Dvar Hashem, also the whole purpose of Dvar Hashem through Malchus is in order to create a separate entity. Therefore, to build up a separate entity. Therefore, we're saying that the of the Dvar Hashem that builds up the just like the stones build up a house. The same thing. The Dvar Hashem builds up a separate the separate entity of the world. Why the Elamite only get from the Inyav Avodim from the words Elikos, because since they should create the worlds in such a way that they're Balik Vol, and the worlds have a Vol to their understanding. And from the arts of Kia, we see that there's Tav Kushana that shows that even to the high from the lowest level of arts, to Kia, which is also creation, it's only a limited amount of time. It's not ain't safe. Any call back the Gabi Hashem Shabbat say from his gal by the until Yedim. So say the Kabel Chayes and Achmuchins Hashem. So therefore, the world's called can only accept their animation from the Dvar Hashem, since they're in a finite way. Which just like the words are just like when you have atheists, they're daemon, they're inanimated. The same thing. The only what gives them the animation, the chayes which goes into them. When you put the words together, there's an air that goes. There's an air that shines in that word. But if you just take a bunch of words, write them on a paper, there'll be nothing. It's just like a bunch of stones that have no purpose at the moment until you put them all together, and you build a house. The same thing with the atheists. When they're all separate, they're nothing until they're all together. But the atheists are compared to the daemon, they're compared to the lowest level, and therefore, in order for the Eibush to make the world into a finite way, you had to do it through speech, through atheists. Because of Kaddish Hashem Tevakes, Kamayra Aisi B'Tevakes for even though there's thousands myriads upon myriads of whatever, above because more kosher costs for yes, we still do them called them. Miakashay Bali Bull. I also therefore, the Chai is only from one ace. Who bechinas Damon Lagabi Shem Abayis who bechinas ain't safe. So we have thousands upon thousands of malachim, and their whole chayes comes from one ace. Ace b'tzavak shaloi. So we see from one ace can come up chayes for many thousands of malachim, which are also balik bull. So we see, because this is also a gvul. Even if you have tens of thousands is also gvul. So what are we saying? In order to create the world, just in order to create any type of word, you have to put different aces together. The same thing, in order to create the world, it was through different aces, the Tzerufi aces, how the aces came together, that funnels a certain type of Dvar Hashem, just like when you put different aces together, funnels to the person a certain type of seichel. You can understand whichever way you make the words, that way the person's going to understand what you're talking about. Same thing, in order to funnel certain chayas to the world, it has to be through certain aces. So till now, what do we explain? We explain that the world was created through the aces. Why was the world created through the aces? Because the aces show on something which is separate. And in order to have a gvul which is separate, it has to come through aces. The aces are compared to the stones. And they're built up, the air, as we said, the letters themselves are nothing. The letters themselves are like stones, they're like inanimate objects. Only when you put them together, that's when you can have a seichel. The same thing, when you put the aces together, they create the world, then the chayes comes into them. But even when the chayes comes into them, they are inanimate objects. And they feel themselves as separate entities. Yaakov Avinu, he wanted to bring them back to. He wanted to bring Megala Likus in the world. He wanted to bring them back to that feeling that they're all Batal Talikus. So Yaakov, he wanted to take all the stones and make them into one. Yaakov, he took them many aces. Was man have an achashu ace yud. So that's to try to put him at his head. Yaakov brought all the stones together to was Merashes of his head. It means to the highest madrega, which is Eis Yud, and over there is Chachma. That's the beginning of all the spirits. Person has the seichel, he has his midas, and when he speaks, the ACS bring out his seichel and his midas. Same thing. The spirit salyenis, they come out in the ACS. Shom who chakav lebachach midia maybe bini yadi v'la because in this cup the Eibishter his the way the chacham is the mile. It's not a chacham that we understand. It's not a bina that we understand. The Eibishter is not any of these midas. So Shom v'chinis yichol bit of a tachlis because the Charavai Gdola that the pasuk Charavai Gdola shows on all the 7 midas. And we say the Charavai they all are batal talikus. The Chayur v'gamer and the Chayis and the Kalim they're all what. So saying that when it comes out of the matter, there's a difference between the seichel, there's a difference between the midas, there's a difference when it comes out in Asiya and in Maisa. Everything is all one thing. The air, the kalim, the aces, everything, the midas, everything is batal talikus, the tachlis havai, the tachlis hayichud. Therefore, we can't have any understanding in this real sayenis. That's what they add to v'chakim leibachachim. That we can't understand the chachma was the ma'ila, and we can't understand bina add to maybe leibavini yadir because the chachma bina ma'ila is different than the chachma bina how we understand it. And when it comes to alamata, that's how the aces come down. Says yud. The code the k'tadem rabes alayesha by mesabish chinas chachma shebechinas higher bit of a takus. The yod is miram is chachma. What's chachma? Chachma is the taxa bittul. The kuda, the hidden the kuda, which is totally bottle, and it doesn't have any spashtus. That shows on the taxa bittul. We say that everything is bottled in the kuda chachma. That means that everything is bottled to the hidden level of chachma, which is not, which it doesn't come down. In order for it to come down, it's to come down to bina to the midas. But the kuda chachma is out there hidden. It's a kodex of bush of his bidder. The Eisei shows that that's a bush to bidder. Why came the Shar Eisei Shemus Lav to Bechidus bidder so Yedus Zel Shiakab as we call about the Beverachas. She's Yod how lays of Chidus Chachmela. And that's what Yaakov he wanted to take all the Avodim and put them all into one. Is Yod, which the Is Yod is Bechidus Chachmela, and the Chachmela is the Tachlis Habitul because it's something which didn't come into our understanding yet, and it's the Nekuda of Chachma which is hidden, and the Yaakov wanted to bring the whole whole Metzius in the world, which was all separate. He wanted to raise it up to such a level that everything should be Bach the Tachlis. But what did he do after that? Then it says he made a matzev. He made like a pile of stones. So also but after he brought everything back to the source, he wanted to bring it back into the world from the source. What's the above shows how it comes back down the matter. And that's where does it come back down? How it comes into the world in such a way that it's not separate. And the two Torah mitzvahs. You can add the Tmudah says Vav Sharesh, and the Yud Vav has on the top of Yud, and after that it goes Lamatik. The Torah comes from the Chachma, the hidden Chachma. Until the Torah came down into the lowest levels in the world. So first, Yaakov, he brought up all the separate entities in the world, Lamaila, through bringing them all together into the Kudav Yud, which is Chachmei Law. And after he brought everything, but the Tachlis is not to be Lamaila, the Tachlis is to bring it down Lamata in this world. So therefore, he would brought it down, but in Yom Gashrim are not a keli to that. So what do you have to bring it down? You have to bring it down into the meaning of Torah mitzvahs. Torah mitzvahs, even how they are in this world, they're batal talikos. And that's what Yaakov, after he made the vav, after he piled up all the stones, he made that matzeva. He poured oil on it. What does it mean, oil? Oil is a chachmei law. Like the Shema Mishras Chedesh, the Gili becomes chachmei law, mamish lamata becomes matzeva. You want to bring down from the kodesh chachmei back down lamata. So becomes Torah mitzvah shem labasha lamata dvarim gashmim. How are we going to bring down the Kudah of Maila into the Gashmi sticker world? The Gashmi sticker world feels as if it's a separate entity. That's to bringing it into Dvarim Gashmiim that are going to be used for Torah mitzvahs. Amach the Parvachamar Kasher Pasuk Kolim Kozei Yebam Gili Bechinas Chachmi La Mamish Keshol Maila. Even though we're dealing with physical objects, but when we bring down the air, how is the Maila? That air comes down into the physical objects the way is the Maila. That's when they poured the oil on the stones, bringing down the Shema, the Yachach Melamata. Just like by Mountain Tater, Al Hasinate, that was Be'emabira, that was a Gili Betachlis, and they heard from the Abishta, Anechev, Shamal Kecha, Afghan, here also the Tater, how it comes down the mountain, Dvarim Gashbim. There'll be a Gili Chachmilah Mamish like it was in the time of Matan Torah. Just like that person has to learn Torah in such a way, just like it was B'Shas Kabbalah Torah. That just like Kabbalah Torah, the person stood by Year Pacha that he felt the Elikus. We have to bring down that feeling Lamata. When he learns Torah, you should feel that this is Chachmilah. He should have the Ema Pacha just like Shas Matan Torah. Because of us, right? A person learns Torah with that Hagosh, and then the Abishta puts the words into his mouth. It's as if it's the Abishta revealing it at that time into his mouth. So that's the Ian that Yaakov, he brought down the Ian of Shem and the Chachma into the Matzeva. How is what was that? The Vav, and that's the Vav bringing it down into things which are able to be receptacles for the Elikosa. What is that? That's the Torah mitzvah Islamat. Li is Gili Kazel Lamata Hutzik Hakim Mitchila so my Lamata so why did Yaakov have to first go up? In order to bring the Gili down, first he had to go up. Why? Because just to go into this world in even of Hagbala would not work, because when it comes down into Eifa of Hagbala, it has to come down into separate and hidden. Yaakov had to go to the beginning of Sefer God. Leah's cannot say it's cause right days and not cause him Sefer. So Yaakov had to bring down from the highest level. He had to bring down from Sefer Kalm, and if he wanted to bring down the Gila, of course, how it is. The Maila, he had to do it from such a level which is higher than the whole union of the world. And that's why he chose the lowest level, because the lowest level is connected to the highest level. It's not Chilasim B'Seif, and he chose the stones, that's the lowest level. David, they went up to the highest level that's there, that's higher than all the elements. And through that, he brought down the Gilui into what? Into Torah mitzvahs, because Torah mitzvahs, they're the only receptacles that the Gilui, of course, comes down. How it is Lamaila, it's there in the Torah mitzvahs. Veshavti Besholom calls the all this came about to bring it above and bring it back down below. So So first he went, but yeah, he brought him at Shesov, and then he brought it back down to the Shem and the Chacham. He brought back down. Says in the pasuk we said Veshavti Besholom Beis Avi. Where's Beis Avi? Avi Koyel Yitzchak. It says Avi, that's going on Yitzchak, and Yaakov said that he's going to go back to Beis Avi with Yitzchak. What is that? What Yaakov mean when he says he's going to go back to his father? It says the lost love we will go say to Yitzchak Yaakov. But it says that they asked the brothers, it's a whole bunch of God, they said Yitzchak Yaakov. Here Yitzchak of Lashon Tzchak. What do you have Yitzchak that's Tzchak beteiligt? Because Tzchak also because you may Yitzchak leave Lashon Atzah. She's called because that tiny girl Yisrael Malach. Doesn't mean that he wants to bring down Yitzchak. That's what we want to bring down. You have tiny Lamat. Oh, the begin is what? So you have tiny. How we bring down the tiny Lamata? So Mat begins to skap. Yes, Hapcha Hasheich on the Heirai de Allah. So I'm shachas anal. And how do we bring down when we turn over something which is not the normal way? That brings a timing. That brings you a timing. You see something which is extraordinary. That's interesting. That brings you pleasure. In order to have timing about the world, people they want to enjoy themselves. They look for something which is out of the ordinary. You want to go see things, you see a bird that talks. When do you have enjoyment where you see things which are extraordinary? Like a bird that talks. You don't go if someone tells you that this bird is talking. Many people they'll run over there, they'll go try and see the show. They don't. The people talk every day all over the place. You go to watch people talk? No, because it's not something that's extraordinary. So therefore, what we see, in order for some people have timing when they see something that's out of the normal. So that's that's also the Yaakov. So that's what Yaakov out there pale, the of Yitzchak. What's it? Yitzchak, we want to bring down a tiny Labata. What's the pshat? We bring down a tiny Labata, we do something which is out of the ordinary. Yaakov if we can bring down all course, Alabata, even in the lowest levels, else the front, we got to be a bowling pool. It's because for Yaakov Beshavti Besholom. And we're nimshich and stalshus and some called kachlis. Havit yesh by bowling ball abud produce. Beginnes the brain the front. To the yesh and if the answer should make a chorus. If we can bring down el kos into the lowest levels, that brings about enjoyment. You even even you see shliach in this faraway place where there's no one there. Everyone's interested. What's going on over there? Or even the worst place. The worst place, so you bring Elikus over there. That's interest to people. You go, you know, Ohr Parshas. That's what interest when there's people learning over there. Oh, so that's the pshat for Vayeitsei Yaakov Beshavti. Yaakov went to Choron. He went to the lowest place, and if he could bring down the Elikus into the lowest place, that gives a title of Mila. That's extraordinary accomplishment. It's not something which is everyday thing. That the chai is the it looks as if they answer. That's called Chadra Ashadach Grady, which costs the lap to the bit. So that the kel is very low because it comes out in symptom. And the same thing, the differ of the Eibishter till it came to Chadra, that means that the kel came in a choking way, till he could it's barely audible. What's the shot? The Eibishter said the words, but when it comes to to a place like Harim, which is the worst place, that those words that the Abish said are barely audible. That means that they're everything is b'tzimtzum gadol over there. You can't detect you can't detect where it came from. That's what we was the tachlis. Even though over there it's barely audible, but the tachlis is to turn it over, change it over. Change over all the bad midas, which that's the average ratio, the Hava by cast. That should be Rakla by the body. It should be bit or Rakla by the body, and that if yes for different. That's what the E of Chuba. Chuba is with a much stronger, a lot stronger. You take those midas which are bad, which you were totally involved in koching in this thing which you wouldn't have done in a regular way. You change them over to likus. That's a rishbeit b'cheli with a lot more chayes. That's what we're saying. The Bali Tshuva, they're on a much higher level than Tzaddik and Gemara. And the Bali Tshuva, they take that chayes that they had in the opposite, and they turn it into likus. Days, and that's the tiny gadol of Milo who makes his copy is happening about that's a that we said that's a of Yitzchak. And that's a tiny is when you take something extraordinary, you do something extraordinary, you go to a place where there's no godliness, and you bring godliness into that place. That's extraordinary feat. That's an interest. That's why people they write up. This guy's doing this over here, and then over here. They're not writing up what every little person's davening a bar park in the shul. They're writing up when they're davening in the Ekbelt somewhere. That's interest to people. So that's just like the bird that talks. That's the when you do tshuva, when you change over the cheshach of the world into godliness. That brings the tithing lebaila, because that's a feat. Then for Chara becomes Rida, enjoy singing Kededa al India, the Chametz for Matashim. Eitz Ches of the Chametz becomes a Hay. She calls the Bzei Pashas Pincha, Pasuk Gar Chayis Kader. And that's when Chidus Matzak from Chara it becomes Rida. She calls it if the Shem Rida, there'll be enjoyment when the Shem are destroyed. So that's a even when the Rishayim are destroyed. That means when you turn over, it's happy. You turn over the lowest levels. That brings out a joy. Either it's a tiny as a scholar. When is this title going to be revealed? Lost to Dafke Shaz Vesruch Hatuma Arba Binaret. So now we're doing it. We're getting rid of all we're being Mavar everything. But when is the Avodas Habayim going to be finished? Or when are we going to realize the tithing of the Maila? When it's also loving, when everything is finished. The Cheshach will be in this matter, and there won't be any more clippers. And then the Vasruch Hatuba Ava Minaretz, then will be in this gal in the world, the tithing God. That last lobby, there won't have to be a more Cheshach. There won't be a more Birur. At least you read this. What's a Birur? That is sometimes you're up, sometimes you're down.